So we've all been told there's no land at the North Pole. But if we look at a live wind finder view, we can see in the center of the Earth there is something large diverting the wind. What is this, you may ask? Well, I'm about to show you. Just go ahead and type in on Google, old map of the North Pole, and all these old maps will come up from the 1500s. And here's what they look like. Look right here, made in 1595. Earth map North Pole. And if we look in the center of the map here, we have what is called the Rupus Nigra. Rupus Nigra was believed to be a huge magnetic rock located at the North Pole. This is why all the compasses point north. The Rupus Nigra was 33 miles in size, which is literally bigger than most cities, which is why it's able to block the wind like this at the North Pole. And what does Rupus Nigra mean? It means black rock. Who's the largest investment company in the world, owning $10 trillion in assets? Oh yeah, it's BlackRock. Where do you think they got their name from? Look at all the companies they own. It's funny how all the early NASA Satelloon footage looks like this, with some big black hole in the center. Nothing to see here, guys. If you guys didn't know, this is literally the mountain that's spoken about all throughout the Bible. This is Mount Zion, which is located directly above the Garden of Eden, which is why you see these 4 rivers coming out of it. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. If we look in the book of Ezekiel, thou hast been in the Garden of Eden. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. So we know the holy mountain of God is located in the Garden of Eden. The Rupus Nigra is the holy mountain of God. Look what it says here, beautiful in elevation, which means it's very high. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion in the far north. Which is why you can literally see the very top of it poking out through the clouds. No other mountain in the world does this. God's word is true once again.
I really want you to think about this for just a second. What tells you that you live on this? What tells you that? I want you to tell me what tells you that other than you believing it. You believe it because someone told you that, or someone smarter than them told them that. There's belief. I believe that. I've never seen curvature. I've never seen water bending. I've never seen the earth moving through the universe. I've never seen with my own eyes stars and planets. It's all belief. Now here, I know I live here because what I've seen with my own eyes through a camera, through a telescope, shows me stars are not what we're told. I see Chicago 60 miles across when we're not supposed to. I know water doesn't bend because I've never experienced it. Belief? No.
Actual, unedited footage of the March 2015 solar eclipse. What are these mysterious orbs around the sun? Well, all is going to be explained. You should watch this till the end. It's rare and not seen by many. Let me explain in a bit more detail. In 1947, director from a French observatory showed a series of calculations and observations that led him to conclude the following. There is at least one non-luminescent, celestial body of considerable size wandering the skies alongside the sun, moon, and planets. The astronomer and mathematician, Sir John Herschel, admitted there are invisible moons in our skies. Could this be what he is referring to? He also stated that it's becoming more known that the stars are accompanied by large orbs that never emit any light. Next, you will see the footage from a travel company who organized a flight of 50 people to see the eclipse at 40,000 feet.
Of the sun took place, and the Travel Quest International Company organized a flight of 50 people to observe this phenomenon from the North Atlantic, and this is where the subject gets interesting. Several passengers filmed the totality of the eclipse, and the recordings show black orbs without light around the sun. And one of these orbs was covering the sun at the moment of the eclipse. Total solar eclipse, March 20th, 2015. And here we can see a nice view through the window, and this is what I wanted to see. Something real. and something nice and up there, not from our perspective. And here we go. Boom. Now they come into view. The orbs that I've spoken about seeing, orbs that can actually move independently, but otherwise move as fixed stars. And I told you of the one that flew over my head and then just parked in its position and just appeared to be a star. And of course we have things we are told that orbit in opposition. And here's an example. Here's 4 of them, moving in opposition. And what I find fascinating is, if this is true, which I believe it is, it seems a lot more plausible than anything I've ever heard on the subject, that means that the stars, or at least some of them, may actually move in front of the sun. And it's certainly the case here with these 4+ orbs. And here we can see it passing, and now we see the eclipse. And we still see the 3 underneath it. Absolutely amazing. And again, this was a group of photographers. It's not just one photographer. And here he helps highlight this, really showing you a lot of the points that many people might want to refute, such as the smudges on the window. And then he highlights these orbs so we can clearly see the way they move. And this just ties right into my last video, where I was showing Emily Suzanne's time-lapse of the luminaries and how they all just moved like a clock. And this just all rings so true to me. All the images I'd ever seen, even all the stuff on this platform that will pop up in the first few pages of searching, is all BS, just showing a false picture, doctored up. And this is what always perplexed me, is why I couldn't see the moon before. Even this last eclipse that I saw when I was working at the hospital. Why did I not see the moon approaching it? Well, that makes sense now. It was essentially an invisible orb until it reached this point, and then again became invisible. And again we have proof now that the moon has been out in historical records. We have proof that it's not the moon causing the eclipses, that there are other moons or luminaries that perhaps have burnt out, but still continue their path, true and predictable. And I had no doubt everything was going to tie in together. All of this, the history, the realm, the orbs. And then this creator explains that these were the images that were posted to the news from the same flight. And they were BS images. They had edited out the rest of the orbs. And again, even before I got to this point and to this video, so many of the videos were also edited. Certainly anything with over 100,000 views. And I was looking for videos with very little views, very amateur. But even then, I couldn't find what I've discovered here. And we've since seen lots of charts examining the old world, and even the clock in Prague doing a better job of explaining what's going on in a working model. The Royal Astronomical Society in June of 1850 wrote, "We must seriously doubt that the moon is the only satellite of the Earth."
The iron anvil floats because Mercury has a density nearly twice that of iron.
So let me get this right. You're telling me the density explains why things fall and rise? Why do we need gravity again? Oh, I remember now. You needed to explain this stupid thing.
Are the northern lights proof of God's throne? The Bible says in Revelation, around God's throne was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. Right, so we look at the color of an emerald. It's the same color as the northern lights. I mean, just look at that. It's so beautiful. And it makes sense that this happens at the North Pole. Right, if we look in Psalm 48, the city of our God and the mountain of his holiness, which is Mount Zion, beautiful for situation. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, right? The city of our God. On the sides of the north. So the city of God is literally in the north. And if we look in the flat earth map, the middle of the earth is literally the North Pole. So this is an ancient map from the 1500s of the North Pole. They literally have Mount Zion in the middle there. which is the mountain of God in the north. Which means the North Pole would be in the very center of the flat earth right here. And which means what would be right above the North Pole, at the top of the firmament, would be God's throne right there. So if there's an emerald rainbow around God's throne, and God's throne is above the North Pole, it makes perfect sense why we see the northern lights in the north. You guys really think it comes from a solar storm? Where small particles can travel down the magnetic field lines at the north and south poles into the earth? That's a bunch of baloney, dude. The northern lights are the glory of God's throne. It's absolutely beautiful.
The helio-nonsensical model keeps changing its theories every so many years. This is from a science book taught in schools just 60 years ago. Just imagine a whole generation learning and being tested on this, just to have the whole thing considered as garbage. This is how the moon was created according to the helio-nonsensical model 60 years ago. First, Earth was a sphere, then an egg due to its spin, afterwards pear-shaped. Then the stalk end broke away. Then the moon was formed. What a bunch of nonsense. How could they have taught that in schools? How come teachers taught this nonsense without questioning why things just didn't fly off since Earth is spitting out a moon due to its rotation? Now they teach something just as absurd, all based on imagination and science fiction. Take a listen to this nonsense.
4.5 billion years ago. At this time, the Earth had no moon. Another planet, the size of Mars, drifted into the path of Earth. It was on a collision course. The impact sent a mass of liquid rock into orbit. And the moon was formed.
Earth is intelligently designed. Bull Earth believers profess to be wise, but they became fools. We live on a stationary, divinely designed flat Earth.
Vigilant viewers have taken it upon themselves to closely analyze NASA's live television broadcasts and have successfully identified various peculiar incidents and inconsistencies. These include the detection of wires, harnesses, virtual reality elements, all of which were utilized to create the illusion of weightlessness. Notably, astronauts have been observed fading in and out of the screen, interactions with objects that appeared to be non-existent, and even instances of astronauts seemingly materializing out of thin air. These videos have sparked valid concerns regarding the authenticity of the weightlessness environment depicted in NASA's broadcasts. The evidence presented in this exploration of NASA's history and actions suggests a potential dark side to this agency's narrative. While we cannot draw definitive conclusions without concrete evidence, the inconsistencies, omissions, and puzzling statements cast doubt on the official version of events. It is imperative to approach the subject with an open mind and continue questioning the actions and motives of organizations like NASA.
That is a little weird. You have not found an accurate flat map, but I've also looked for an accurate globe, but all I find is globes are not meant for educational purposes, but only decorative purpose.
Who could have imagined that the Greeks had created a working flat Earth model 2,500 years ago? Yes, I am talking about the Antikythera mechanism. This mechanism, found off an island in Greece out of a shipwreck, is a perfect working flat Earth model with the sun, moon, and all the so-called planets which in ancient times were called wandering stars, all built into a system that matches up to this day. The perfect movement of the cosmos having Earth as the center of everything. The precision of the Antikythera flat Earth model is so perfectly correct that the watchmaker company called Hublot made a special edition wristwatch called the Hublot Antikythera Sun and Moon Watch at a starting price of $16,000. The Antikythera flat Earth model, built 2,500 years ago, not only described the phases of the moon, but also predicted eclipses, which are cyclical events in his book name. Is the Bible from heaven? Is the Earth a globe? Alex Gleason, creator of the Gleason's flat Earth map, included tables and charts to teach us how to calculate eclipses all by ourselves, without the help of NASA or other fake space agencies. Just look at the details of this watch displaying months, star signs, constellations, and the sun and the moon, just like Paul Chiefed model in his Flat Earth book. It is also similar to the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. The technology and precision the Greeks used to build the Antikythera Flat Earth model is no match for today's scientists. Several scholars have only scratched the surface of what other things this model can do. All of them agree that this is a marvel. The flat Earth is a clock, and the Greeks knew that, and they were able to build a mechanism that describes the exact movement of the cosmos, having Earth as the center of it all. So, when globe believers ask you about our flat Earth model, just point them to the Antikythera flat Earth mechanism built 2,500 years ago. No other model matches its perfection and precision up to this day. The Antikythera flat Earth model still works today as it did 2,500 years ago. It has stood the test of time, and it has proven that the universe rotates around a stationary Earth. This is the final proof the Greeks never believed Earth to be a spinning ball in space.
Does anyone else find this a little concerning? If we are on a supposed globe, this has never happened. This flight from Taiwan to Los Angeles, there's an emergency along the way and needed to land the plane as quickly as possible. Why in the world would they land all the way up there in Alaska? If we are on a supposed globe, Hawaii is just right there. Oh, I get it now. Taiwan to Los Angeles, Alaska is right on the way. This flight from Argentina to India, so they stopped all the way up in Amsterdam. Like, why didn't they go straight across? Oh wait, they did. Argentina to India, Amsterdam is along the way. Now this one will really make you scratch your head. This flight from Auckland to Peru, so they landed in Los Angeles, passing the equator. Like, why would you pass the equator when you could have just went straight across? Makes sense. Auckland to Peru, Los Angeles is along the way. Guys, I could do this all day. Flight pass proves that the Earth is flat. But send this to somebody that needs to see this. Like always, God bless. Peace.
The flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.